Hello everyone, and welcome to the Scary Story channel. Tonight, I have a tale that will make you think twice about the strange noises you hear in your own home. It's a story about whispers, old houses, and secrets that refuse to stay buried. So, turn down the lights, get comfortable, and listen closely. The house was a steel, a 2-story Victorian with a wraparound porch, stained glass windows, and enough character to make up for the peeling paint and creaky floors. When my wife Clara and I first saw it, we knew it was our forever home. The real estate agent, a portly man named Mr. Abernathy, had glossed over the house's history, mentioning something about the original owners living there their whole lives. We were too smitten with the bay windows and the clawfoot tub to ask for more details. Our first month was pure bliss. We painted walls, sanded floors, and dreamed about the family we would raise within those walls. The house felt welcoming, almost like it was happy to have life bustling inside it again. The first time I heard it, I dismissed it as the wind. A faint, sibilant sound, like leaves skittering across pavement. It seemed to come from below, from the direction of the basement. I was in the kitchen making coffee, and the old house was constantly settling and groaning, so I didn't give it a second thought. But then I heard it again a few nights later. This time, I was alone. Clara was working a late shift at the hospital. The sound was clearer, more distinct. It wasn't the wind, it was a whisper. I couldn't make out any words, just a soft, raspy murmur that rose from the floorboards and then faded. I checked the basement door, found it locked, and told myself I was just tired. New house, new noises, simple as that. But the whispers didn't stop. They became a nightly occurrence, always faint, always just on the edge of my hearing. Clara never heard them. "You're just imagining things, love," she'd say, kissing my cheek. "This old house is playing tricks on you." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the feeling of being watched, the cold spots that would appear and disappear in the hallways, it was all starting to wear on me. The whispers seemed to have an intelligence to them. They'd start when I was alone, growing slightly louder, more insistent, before retreating the moment Clara's car pulled into the driveway. It felt like whatever was making the sound was toying with me, singling me out. One Saturday, I decided to confront my fears. Armed with a heavy-duty flashlight, I unlocked the basement door. A wave of damp, earthy air washed over me. The stairs were steep and wooden, groaning under my weight as I descended into the gloom. The basement was huge, a labyrinth of stone walls, support beams and shadows. Cobwebs hung like tattered veils. The previous owners had left behind stacks of old furniture covered in white sheets, looking like a ghostly audience. I called out, "Hello? Is anyone down here?" My voice echoed in the oppressive silence, and then I heard it. A whisper, right behind me. "Get out." The voice was dry, brittle, like crumbling paper. I spun around, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, but there was nothing there. Just a dusty old wardrobe and a pile of forgotten boxes. My heart hammered against my ribs. I wasn't imagining it. It was real. I ran upstairs, slammed the basement door shut, and locked it. When Clara got home, I told her everything. I expected her to laugh, to tell me I was being paranoid, but this time she saw the genuine fear in my eyes. "Okay," she said softly. "Okay. Let's figure this out. Together." The next day we went to the town's historical society. An elderly librarian with kind eyes listened patiently to our story. When I mentioned the address, her expression changed. She retrieved a dusty ledger from a back room. The house, she explained, had belonged to the Hemlock family. There was an old story, a town legend really. In the early 1900s, the Hemlocks had a young son named Samuel. He was a quiet, sickly child who spent most of his time in the basement, where he had a workshop for his little inventions. One day, he just vanished. No one ever saw him again. The family claimed he ran away, but the townspeople whispered darker things. They said the boy had died in the house and that his parents, ashamed of his frail nature, had hidden his body somewhere within its walls. The story sent a chill down my spine. We went home, the weight of the house's history settling upon us. That night, the whispers were different. They weren't just a faint murmur anymore. They were words, fragmented and desperate. Cold, so cold. Help me. It was a child's voice, thin and reedy. It was coming directly from the basement. Clara heard it too this time. We stood frozen in the hallway, clinging to each other. The voice wasn't menacing. It was heartbreakingly sad. It wasn't the voice of a monster, it was the voice of a lost child. We knew we couldn't ignore it any longer. We had to help him. The next morning, we went back down to the basement. It didn't feel as threatening in the daylight, but the sorrow was palpable. We started our search near the old wardrobe, where I'd heard the whisper most clearly. Behind it, the stone wall looked different. The mortar was newer in one section, a patch of mismatched grey against the crumbling, century-old original. With a crowbar and a hammer, we started to pry at the stones. It was grueling work. Dust filled the air, and with each stone we removed, the air grew colder. After an hour, the crowbar hit something hollow. We pulled away the last of the stones, revealing a dark, cramped space behind the wall. A hidden cavity. My flashlight beam pierced the darkness, and we both gasped. Inside, huddled in the corner, was a small skeleton, wrapped in the tattered remains of a child's blanket. Next to it lay a small, wooden music box. We called the police. The authorities were discreet, and the discovery was handled with quiet respect. The remains were confirmed to be those of a young boy, and the town's old legend was finally proven true. Samuel Hemlock had not run away. He had been entombed in his own home. The coroner speculated that he had likely gotten trapped in the hidden space, and being a sickly child, hadn't been able to call for help loudly enough. His parents, perhaps out of shame or fear of scandal, had simply walled him in, pretending he had disappeared. It was a tragedy too awful to comprehend. We gave Samuel the proper burial he had been denied for over a century. A small service was held in the local cemetery, under a large oak tree. It felt like we were finally giving him peace. That night, for the first time since we moved in, the house was silent. No whispers, no cold spots, no feeling of being watched. The oppressive sadness that had clung to the basement was gone, replaced by a sense of calm. It felt like the house could finally breathe again, its darkest secret brought into the light. We never considered moving. The house wasn't haunted. It was just sad. It had been holding onto a tragic memory, waiting for someone to listen. We were those people. Sometimes when I'm in the kitchen late at night, I think I feel a gentle presence, a quiet thank you on the breeze from an open window. The whispers are gone, but the memory of the little boy who lived and died within these walls will always be a part of our home. We're not just living in a house, we're caretakers of a story, and we'll make sure it's a happy one from now on. Thank you for listening to my story tonight. Remember, not all strange noises are something to be feared. Sometimes they're just a cry for help from a soul that can't find its way home. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to the Scary Story channel for more tales from the shadows. Until next time, sleep well, if you can.